And maybe either tonight or maybe next time, a visualization of, you know, confidence and like, like preparedness and stuff like that that can help folks as, yeah, maybe right at the time that they're going to hit that button and like start the exam.
Imagery. All right, so let's do that one for next week, and I'll prepare a nice
Okay.
image one for sort of test day.
Okay.
But let-
Okay. Cool.
let's do
Thank
a
you.
practice tonight for something you guys can work on, and I'll put it into the chat
Okay.
after, or send it. I'll put it on the cohort messenger page afterwards, so you guys can practice. But you can use these techniques and use them, a couple of times a day. Just get in the mode of using them and see how your body reacts. If you're, you can do it, you're stopped at a traffic light, you're standing online somewhere, whatever that might be. Okay. So let's do one. It's going to be 10 breath. And what we'll do is we're going to count down from 10 to 0 and one number for each breath. So you're going to breathe in as a 1 and out breath is 10. Breathe in, out breath is 9. Okay, so you're just going to be slowing yourself down. I'm going to guide you through it, but just so you sort of know what's happening. I also like you try to use your breath in through the nose and out through the nose if you're able to do that. But if you can't, it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. When you use your nose, it slows down the breath a little bit easier. It goes right into the brain. So breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose slows the breath down much faster. Okay. So let's begin then. Are we okay, Sherry, to start? Okay. All right, great. Countdown is on, guys. So let's do a countdown. It's the 10 countdown. All right, so let's get settled in. Kind of actually find yourself in a relaxed position. Find yourself really grounded to get that sense of you're connected to the earth. Begin to just roll your shoulders out a little bit. Feel comfortable in your seat. Place your hands in a grounded position, maybe on your thighs or on your desk or in your chair. And really bring your head straight up. Bring the crown of your head up to almost touch the ceiling. So you're extending through the spine to get some more air into your lungs. Okay. We're going to do 10 breaths here. So we're going to inhale through the nose for 1. And as you exhale through the nose, say 10 to yourself. Inhale through the nose. Hold it. Exhale, 9. Inhale. Hold. 8. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale, 7. Inhale. Hold. 6. Inhale. Hold. 5. Inhale. Hold. 4. Inhale. Hold. 3. Inhale. Hold. 2. Inhale. Hold. 1. One more inhale. Hold it for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, exhale. And then come back. How'd you guys feel?
That was amazing. I've done a lot of breathing techniques, and I haven't done that one yet. I think it was around count number 5 is where I felt a shift in my stomach where it just like got like really warm. So I could feel my parasympathetic system kicking in. So thank you for that.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Usually it's that 5 mark, right? You're like, okay, I'm already halfway done. Now I'm into it. Now I'm getting this. Now I can really concentrate on the hold breath and the release breath. So you can do that. You can do that for a 5 count, a 3 count. You can make it as long or short as you want, but really just focusing in on that nice slow inhale, holding it, and then releasing. And if you feel a little dizzy, that's natural as well when you're doing the whole breaths. So don't think there's something wrong there. That's a very natural reaction. So what I'll do is I'll send you guys out a little memo of different little mini techniques to use, and then just practice those during the week, and we can discuss next week. And then we'll do guided imagery next week.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was wonderful.
I know I
That
felt
was
it.
really great.
It just helped
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I've never done that and I love it. Like the combination of breathing and counting is a good combination. I find counting itself for some reason relaxing. I guess because it focuses the mind.
It does. It's the focus. It slows down the mind because it has to just stay focused. Remember going to sleep at night, 99 bottles of beer on the wall?
Oh yes, yes,
Focus.
yes.
Focus.
Right. Right.
Thought we were counting sheep, not beer.
That you. I guess that was my college mantra.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to start with us going through the questions that were posted? There seems to be some great ones in the doc. I can share my screen. Does anybody have any questions? But before I do that, while we can all kind of see each other a little bit.
And I just want to make sure the questions that are on there we're not using anybody's like intellectual property. And if we have if they're like free ones, like we got off a free thing, if we just like say where we got them.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah, so if anybody, when we get to them, when I'm sharing my screen, if like I can add on there, like type right in, like this is from somebody's Facebook page, this is, to give reference. But if somebody's in a paid for group and have copied and pasted any, just say, skip that one, intellectual property, my bad. We're just going to skip it, or I'm just going to delete it out of there to make sure that we don't cover it, to make sure that we're not, that those paid there. And I understand, we wouldn't want anybody to take that information. So if they're not in the paid for class, they shouldn't be able to have access to that. Right. Let me just get some of this to make this a little bigger. I don't want all that in there. That's okay. It's what Google does.
And also if you made any up like I did, know that we're not professional question makers. So if anything, it'll create a discussion.
Yeah. So I'm going to, I've got everything in here, right? Okay. So here's a sample question. And what I'm going to do is since I'm sharing my screen, if somebody else can, when we're done, we're all going to be silent. And then if everybody can just raise their hand or whatever, and then we'll go through it and we'll talk them out. Okay. And Casey, is this one you made up?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So, okay.
Okay.
Number 1, you are in a beginning coaching session with Simone. She is a 25-year-old nurse struggling with symptoms of PCOS. Her A1C is 6%, and she has a waist circumference of 35 inches. Her father is a truck driver and has diabetes. Which of the following questions would best promote change talk? A. You said you like drinking soda, especially Mountain Dew. Do you think replacing soda with naturally flavored sparkling water would be a good first step in reducing your sugar intake? B. You have expressed your concern for your father because he has diabetes and he finds it difficult to eat anything but fast food because of his job. Are you worried about your risk of getting diabetes? C. I know you recently joined a gym. Why do you want to improve your health and fitness? D. Would you like me to provide you with a few articles from Dr. Aviva Ram on nutrition that can help with PCOS? Okay. Sherry has her hand up.
Well, if everybody can get their hand up after they've got their answer, then we can go on from
Oh,
there.
okay. That's how we're, okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. They have the little hand there. If you have the answer in your head, just put your hand up. And then what should we do, Sherry?
Okay, I love it. Somebody put it in the chat and they put in C. I know you recently joined the gym. Why do you want to improve your health and fitness? And I think that's perfect because that's my answer as well. Anybody have a
What
different
does other
answer?
people think?
It would be
Okay, so
B?
we've got a B as in Baker and a D as in David. So before we go forth with that, I'm just going to put in why I said C, if that's okay. Or Aletha, do you want to say why you put in C?
Sure, I chose C because the question is, which of the following questions would best promote change talk? And the only thing that points to any changes, active changes that she's making is going to the gym to support her health goals. So that's why I chose C.
Yes. And I chose C for the same reason. And also the fact that we're not leading them and we're not suggesting to them and we're not telling them what to do. We're allowing them to lead. So we're asking them why they did that.
Yeah. We're
So,
evoking change. And it's also an open-ended question.
mhm. So why would D be a good answer?
I guess I'd put that because I thought the others looked like they were leading, and I didn't like how C said why. I don't know. I felt like the other ones were leading more. That's why I picked D.
Instead of how or what? You didn't like the why?
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I am going to read one thing from the competencies, and it states that see if I can remember exactly which one it was, but it pretty much says that the client is resourceful. So we're not actually the one to give them the resources. We're trying to pull the resources from them. Does anybody remember that exact competency number?
Well, I think D talks to elicit, provide, elicit, and there was no discussion here about her talking, there was no discussion at all about the actual disease state or something. So this is the coach coming in and just saying, oh, would you like some information, without really addressing the question of which is the one that's promoting change talk. Whereas B is, are you worried about getting diabetes? That's a complete shutdown. That's a closed-ended question. So there's going to be no change talk in that one.
Oh, I think I was thinking of 2.1.5 conveyed the belief that the client is resourceful, expert in own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what about B as in Baker? Why would somebody think that that would be a good answer?
Well, the first part of it is a good reflection, but the second part is a closed-ended question. So that's not promoting change talk. So the first part is acceptable.
Yes, I agree.
And then the A is leading the client. giving them directive of ideas of what they can do. So it's not promoting self-efficacy or autonomy.
Okay, let's go to the second question. Does anybody have any questions before we move on?
I was just gonna say that I was questioning whether to use why, but I think I was gonna, I think what I was thinking is then we were gonna get at, the, intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
So that was my goal.
Perfect. I love it.
One
So-
quick comment about the answer.
Yes.
In that in B, where you the closed-end questions really makes it a non-answer, and but the key to the answer is of course being very careful about the question. Which of the following promotes change talk? And it makes C the only obvious one then. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
You're
Yeah, I
welcome.
think the trick is make sure we're answering the question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna
Uh,
read this one because a lot of us misread. So we got to practice reading on our own. So we had to do this in a group because
Oh,
sometimes when
okay.
you read
Oh,
it out
sorry.
loud,
Yep.
no, that's okay.
Okay.
But I do know that sometimes when we read it out loud, we catch a word that we actually skipped when we read it. So we're going
Right.
to just read it silently. We'll raise our hands and then we'll go forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since I can't see everybody, if somebody else wants to talk as soon as they see the hands up.
I think
Okay.
I can't see everybody either. Can I
Okay, I'm just
scroll?
gonna-
I can scroll. I think most people have.
Oh, yeah. Hands up. Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna throw out because I don't want to put anybody on the line. So I'm just gonna throw out and say, we've got an answer B in here for preparation. So, and let me tell to put my hand back down. Sorry. So let's just go through these one at a time. Pre-contemplation. Are they in pre-contemplation? I think I just see everybody shaking their head. No. Okay. So, so pre-contemplation means that they're not even considering anything. So are they in preparation? Are they preparing to change?
No,
No, not yet.
not yet. Not within 30 days.
Okay. So this is Halloween. Very good. So the definition of preparation is within 30 days, right? Okay. So January the 1st would be a couple months away. So now C, contemplation. Are they contemplating changing?
Yes.
Oh, taking action.
You think they're actually changing now?
She's, she's planning to give it up.
Planning is not action. That would have been preparation, right?
Preparation is that.
But action means they've already changing and they're doing it between now and within 6 months, right? So they haven't changed yet. They're saying that they're going to give up alcohol on January the 1st. So they're not doing it yet. So she's got to be in contemplation.
This is a
So-
great question for a couple of reasons, because again, if you don't read it, you won't pick up the Halloween and the New Year's, right? Which
Yes.
gives you the answer. Because if you didn't pick that up, you would think it's preparation because she's saying, I am going to do this.
Yes.
So great question.
It's a good
Yeah.
tricky. It's a tricky one. Because
I love
yeah,
it.
definitely she would be in preparation.
Yeah. So I think that's a great question.
Then it's a trick. So the answer is contemplation.
The answer is contemplation. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. That is a tricky.
It would
Okay.
maybe frame.
Yeah. And obviously if you've got the changing to thrive book, it has right in there at the beginning, pre-contemplation is not intending to take action in the next 6 months. Contemplation is intended to take action in the next 6 months. Preparation is ready to take action in the next 30 days. Action is that they have made the change, but less than 6 months. Maintenance is more than 6 months. And termination is actually confident with the change and not tempted to relapse. And that's why some people can never, if they drink alcohol, they know that if they're always tempted. They know if they'll have one drink, they're going to want more, and smokers can be the same way. Right. So, and if I'm not mistaken, does somebody have years connected to their dates?
So termination is
Is
lasting
more
greater-
than 6 years, right?
I thought it was, like 6 months to 6 years. Does that sound right?
I had 6 months to less than 5 years. For
Okay.
me, is lasted greater than 6 months and less than 5 years without a relapse. But I've also seen it as 6 years.
I was wondering if it was I was thinking it was 5 years and the 6 years was the records that we have to keep. So, but then so I'm
But
not
this-
sure. I wrote it in some
Literally-
notes though.
This is from Changing to Thrive.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Greater
Okay.
than
30 days. Preparation is within 30 days.
No,
Yes.
preparation
yes.
is, yes, within 30 days.
will
Okay.
take action within 30 days.
Okay. That's what, so this is beyond 30 days, so it's not preparation. Okay, so it's contemplation.
Yeah.
Yes. And contemplation is considering action within the next 6 months.
Got it. Whew, there's another tricky one.
It's a great question. Thank you so much.
When we talk about all the different books, this is one thing that confuses me.
Mhm.
Is that how do we know what source to pull from when there's conflicting information? I feel like there's so many books and resources and things that we're looking at. Part of what is throwing me in my studying is, oh, I'm looking it up in this book, I'm looking it up over here, or these notes, or from my course. And sometimes they're conflicting. And I don't know, I just wanted to know what everyone else does with that.
I'm going to be honest. Most of the books, the sources, and this book pretty much match. And if they don't, I go with like who created it. So the trans-theoretical model was created by Doctors James and Janice Prochaska, right? So they're the master source. If it's an MI question, the master source for that to me would be Miller and Rolnick. So I'm going to go to that source because to me, that is the major source for that. And this should be pulling from it, but this can be older than some of their latest books. So that's me personally. Anybody else have any?
Yeah, absolutely agree, Sherry. There are 3 must-have texts, which are the basis of all the competencies 1 and 2, definitely. And that's the Rolnick book. They're the authors of MI, and Changing to Thrive, which you've mentioned, is the I'm sorry, I switched that around. TTM is
Prochaska.
and Prochaska's TTM, and then the Coaching Psychology Manual is. So those 3, those are definitive sources.
Okay,
And
thank
then,
you.
sort of like the chronic illnesses and wellness, some of the numbers have changed because guidelines have changed. So you have to go to the recent guidelines by the CDC or the NIH.
And on page 97, the preparation stage in the Coaching Psychology Manual specifically does state within 60 within the next month, planning to take some action within the next month. So she does actually, I say she, but there's more than she because there's Bob in here and Erica too, but Erica's another lady. But they do have in there the exact time frames as well in the coaching psychology manual.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome. I was looking to see where else I had that. Okay. So question 3, and then we'll just give it a little thing.
It's supposed to just be at her doctor's office. Sorry.
It looks like we have the majority hands up. So we have a couple brave souls that have put in here C. So before we even go through this, if it's okay, why would A not be? Why would A be right or not right? Discuss with Taylor a plan to help her control his bad diet, his bad cholesterol. Oh,
Out of scope.
help her control.
We're not doctors.
Right,
I know I
right.
messed it up.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
And
So
and that wouldn't be appropriate for a first session.
right. B, talk to Taylor's doctor to obtain clear guidance on the expectations for the coaching session. The doctor is not the client, so nor is he the what is the word I want to say? Even if they were the payer.
Sponsor.
Yeah, sponsor. Thank you,
sponsor.
Jamie. Sponsor went from my mind. All my clients have been sponsors pretty much. I can't even think of it. But yes, so we don't get guidance from people, yeah, only the clients. So that would not be a good answer. Explain to Taylor the focus of the coaching session is on the client and not on medical treatment of her high cholesterol. So that answer could or could not be right. And let's look at D, share with Taylor your background as a coach and how you can help improve her health. So if this is your first coaching session, what is the best answer for that? Any brave soul want to share? I'm going to say D as in David.
I'm torn between C and D, but the only thing that throws me off, and I'm realizing I need to know specifically what competency this points to, but the part that says how you can improve her health is what's throwing me off. So that's what's making me lean more towards C.
Yeah,
I
agree with
agree.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, same here. If it was
not a
saying how she can improve her own health through coaching, that would make that an easy D. But for me, I'm struggling with that word.
Yeah.
You as a health coach can improve her health.
because it's not about us, it's about her. So that's what shook me off of D as well.
Yeah, and we can't guarantee that we can help them improve their health because it's up to them.
That's true.
So see the answer?
So
C's the answer.
can I just make a statement? So when you guys are studying, because I'm like weeks away, like I feel like I know this stuff, but are you specifically trying to tie it to a competency as you're going through in your brain?
Some of the questions in my brain are popping up as a competency, but I think it's because I'm actually trying to study the competencies a little bit. And a couple of the people that I talked to said a lot of the questions were almost the competency were very similar to what the competency says. So if you actually know what the competency say in their overview, it kind of helps you to know what the answers are.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of, it's like I know the answer, but like, and I know it's somewhere in there, but I don't know like, oh, 2.1.5. Like, I don't know that. So that's where what's making me like, oh my gosh, I got so much to do.
No,
Well,
my brain doesn't work that way either. And I study with Sherry, and our brains work totally differently. So it's funny.
yeah. And it's funny though, because I know one of the competencies focus on focusing and another competencies focus on like the refocusing, and one of them focuses on expanding the conversation, right? So I can literally take my brain and go, okay, if I want to expand it, then that's on this competency. And if I want to focus or refocus, that's going to be basic. That's going to be brainstorming. That's going to be, I forgot what the A is. The S is scaling questions. The I is, oh my goodness. And here we go. So yeah, this is like 2 points. Yeah. Bottom lining, ask the client to summarize, scaling question, interact and redirect, and then close into questions. So in that specifically what it says in competency 2.7, and expand in the conversations right above it in 2.6. And it tells you, how do you do that? Open-ended questions, evocation. You do brainstorm there. And I think I said brainstorm before, and it was bottom line, you summary. You use metaphors. You connect the focus to multiple dimensions of the client's life to expand the conversation. You explore broader perspectives and inspire interest in new possibilities. So you get them excited. What excites you about this, right? And you incorporate your coach's intuition. So some of those kind of, because I've went over these competencies a couple of times to make sure I understood what are they looking for. Some of them pop right into my mind, especially, a lot of them in 2. And I'm trying to know that 2 is about 50% of the test. So I'm really making sure that I understand exactly what this is telling me I need to know. I may be going overboard. I just want to pass the test the first time and not have to pay $500 again. Let's be honest, and put myself through stress again.
Sherry, that's a good point about focusing in on 2. If you're really going to want to focus in on competencies, I would keep it to 2. Yeah. Because that's really where the meat of everything is at.
Where are all the competencies listed? Because when I hear you guys say competencies, and I've gone through these books, it's like, where's competency? Like I have a hard time like comprehending competency 2.1.
You can get it on the National Board website. I could probably pull it up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you want
It's called the content outline. So
yeah,
this is what it looks like. So you can pull that down and write all over it. And it's super helpful. I have found that through working with you guys in these courses and listening, the concepts start to kind of come alive when you look at them in the format that they deliver it in this outline. Super helpful.
I think so too, Wendy. I really do. And I think that that's what has, before when I started seeing a lot of these questions, I was going through, oh my gosh, all the answers are right. How do you know? How do you know? And then I really started going through, kind of breezing through the competencies. And then whenever I really I started making myself test questions of the competencies. And then whenever I read something else, it helped me. And if I had time this past week, I was actually going to make some of those and throw them in there for everybody. But my husband did this run thing, so I was out of town and I did not have an opportunity to do that. So,
but also whoever asked about where the competencies come from, if you go back to each of our Monday night sessions, each of the topics is based on the competency outlined in the outline. So we're literally following through with those topics and discussions. So you can find the pages, you can find the actual reference and the competency specific to the topic.
And there is no book. We have found no training.
There's
no one source that pretty much gives you all the information in the order that the competencies are in. So it's kind of like this page to this page, which, we just kind of, it really forces you to know it and just kind of understanding. You can be a terrific coach, but to pass the national boards, you need to understand what what they're wanting. Okay.
What's the answer?
The answer was C.
Okay.
Okay. So disclaimer on these next questions, because they're mine.
Okay.
I just made up questions based on what has kind of a few things that got me stuck. So starting with number 1, Joan. So they are completely made up, but they're things that got me
Good.
stuck. So we can argue what the right answers are, what I think they are because of the question, because I started with the answer first.
I
So that's
love
my
it.
disclaimer.
I
If
love
anybody
it.
Nice job,
wants to arrest
Wendy.
me,
Thank you.
Thank you,
can arrest
Wendy.
me.
And
Yeah.
no, we give everybody grace and understand,
Yes.
no judgment, because a lot of us haven't even, and there's the link is in there for whoever needs it now. But yeah, and that's why I realized that whenever we were taking turns reading some questions out loud before, and sometimes we would read them out loud if someone was in a car. So just because they couldn't read it on their, but just trying to read it yourself to get used to it, to make sure you don't skip a word. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I love this. And I really
Mhm.
love the fact that, who said that they put these questions in? Was it Wendy?
That was me.
Wendy.
Yeah, that's Wendy.
Okay, so Wendy, I love the fact that you made this a 7, because this has been controversy with some of the people in different classes. So
Mhm.
let's go with number A. What makes this a 7 and not a 10? I think I've seen that we're never to ask them why they should be a 10. Does anybody have anything else other than that?
Well, you're coming from a negative standpoint then. You're looking
Right.
at efficiencies, even
Yeah.
if it's at a 9.
Right.
And
Right. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you a 10?
if they're already a 7, the MI research has proven that a 7 is they're already in a very good place. So that's a definite. So they're already there. So let's just say it was a 9, right? You still wouldn't pick that one because that's not building self-efficacy. They're already at a 7. They're in a strong place. So
Okay. I'm glad Claire said that. So Claire, if this says the client replies a 6, and it says, and your response was, what makes you a 6 and not an 8? Do you think that would be appropriate because it was a 6?
well, it depends on where you are. You're in SMART goals here, it seems like, because they're already, maybe, because then you're looking at if you're doing barriers or obstacles or something. So that could be a strategy question. I think the question would be worded differently.
Yeah.
And from a motivational interviewing perspective, this was one thing that kind of put me into this question. It's similar to what Claire said, right? If clients are more likely to achieve their goals if their confidence is a 7 or a greater. And that came directly from MI. So I think that's probably where they put that 7 in there. And then the rest of it comes with whatever y'all think the answer is, the perspective of self-efficacy and confidence.
Yeah. Okay, so B, would you consider mapping out the restrooms along your travel routes daily? Yeah.
Thank you for that giggle.
Yeah. Harvey's giggle was
Appreciate
perfect
it.
on that one. So yeah, that's that would be good. But that's not what we're gonna do. So see what makes you a 7 and not a 5. So it looks like everybody's got C in there, and we do know that asking them what makes them a 7, if we're trying to increase their their confidence or self-efficacy, asking them what makes them a 7 and not a 5 leads them to tell us reasons why they can't, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to continue to promote the change talk and continue to bring up their efficacy, right? And their confidence. And then let's talk about how you can incorporate your weight loss goals into your water intake goals. We don't do that yet. So yeah, focusing on that positive. I love it. Great question.
And increasing their strength. So whatever, if you already had a strengths conversation.
I will look at 2. Hey. All right, so the coach is engaging in what? So the coach asks Mark to describe the pros and cons of changing his diet versus not changing his diet. Is that motivational interviewing?
Oh,
Is that decisional? In a way, it is a part of motivational interviewing, but it's not exactly what motivational interviewing is. Is that decisional balance? I think asking the pros and cons is a decisional balance, right? So we got to make sure that our pros outweigh our cons. And then that moves us, once our pros outweigh our cons, that moves us more into the, that moves us to pre-contemplation mode, right? Or I'm sorry, to contemplation. From contemplation to yeah. When you decrease your cons and move, and when you decrease your cons and improve your pros, you move from contemplation to preparation.
Correct. Whenever you're in decisional balance, it's always contemplation.
Yeah.
It's equivalence. It means the pros and the cons are the same. You're not sure. So this is when the coach has got to make the square box and make them shift the ratio of pros to cons. And usually the ratio is 3 or 2 to 1.
And the appreciative inquiry is the define, discover, dream, design, and destiny, right? And then going through those, and everything's positive, which this is a positive question, but that's not what this is. And social cognitive theory are the, I was going to say the determination, but the social cognitive theory, there's nothing in here that's social, right? There's no social determinants in here. So it would not be that. Any questions on that one? Great question. Okay, number 3. Okay, looks like a lot of us have our hand up on this one. This one seems to be a little bit more tricky. Now,
I hope I did it right.
I was told somebody in a paid for group stated that there's not a B and C, and there's not ones that do that. Does anybody else know if that's true or not?
I hope
I've
that's
had
true.
that told to me as well, that there's not going to be any combos. There's not going to be any questions that say blah, 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 but not, and then leaving that. And I've also been told that they won't go out of order, like the question above, when they're listing things like the trans theoretical model of change, they won't list the stages of change out of order.
Oh.
So yeah, just confirming what you said, Sherry.
Okay.
That's great news.
I found that out today myself, and I was like, I like this question, but that's tricky. Okay, so PHI, what's PHI mean?
Health. Protected health information.
There we go. Protected health information cannot be disclosed without authorization. Okay. I agree with that.
Yep.
B, PHI may be shared. Well, depends who authorizes it, right?
Correct.
So PHI may be shared with the client when they request it. That's true. PHI may be used in a limited fashion for research, public health, etc.
Mhm.
I don't think that that's true.
It is true.
It is
So
true.
it can be used for research. It's a very limited fashion, so it's very specific in what you can use it for. And as far as PHI cannot be disclosed without authorization, it can, but it has to be very limited. It goes back to C, right? There's only small specifics. We can't give names, dates of birth, addresses, and phone numbers, but we can give research data and public health information that doesn't include specifics to who they are. So that one tripped me up, but that's why I
Yeah,
made
I think back to that coaching, the coaching log that we had to submit with the 50 sessions and how we were supposed to disclose information with protected identity. So I think of that.
So it just has to be de-identified. That's the key.
Yeah.
Mm.
The
Can
other thing that made me really think with this C, which if let's say you've got a client or a client even goes to a doctor or a nurse, and then the nurse asks the doctor without identifying who the client is or the patient is, they may need to say whether it's a female, what their age is, whether, what their race is, because those may be factors that have an effect on whether they're more at risk or not, right? So just saying diabetes, saying if someone's over the age of 65, and those are things that are de-identifiers per se, but they're not specific enough. So they are in very limited fashion. So that is the one thing that I do know that, we are to do, but if we know the things, we don't need to give them unless asked, if we know that that is part of a risk factor, right? Does anybody else have anything on that?
The other thing, there are 4 ways to release PHI without authorization. It's for the client, for payment operations, in case that comes up, for the public interest, which is in here, you have public health, and then for research, but the PHI has to be de-identified. So there's only 4 areas that it can be released without authorization.
Right. So does anybody need to take a note on that? There we go. Name, date of birth, and employment information are protected, I believe.
yes.
Yes.
The answer is C.
The answer is C.
The answer I had was D, because B and C
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
are both
because-
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Because, obviously shared with the client, I completely forgot about B. Yeah. Because I know B is true.
Tricky,
So I know B
tricky
is
over here. Yes.
I love this question. And we want the tricky so that now when we get one of these tricky ones in the test, we can answer
Think
properly.
about it.
So it's not B and C?
It is B and C. It's D as in David.
So the combination is possible.
It was on this make believe brought up question,
Okay.
because not everybody even knew that they didn't have combo questions.
Okay.
Yeah. That's new.
Okay, I'm just going to go up for 4 so you guys can just read it.
They get easier, quicker.
Okay. Just question real quick to the question writer. Is A supposed to be HIPAA?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Let me fix it real quick.
Thank you.
Because I was like, that's not that can't be the answer at all.
And I'm not that tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so what does HIPAA stand for? Crickets.
Health information,
information,
portability, and privacy,
Accountability
Act.
Okay. Yes.
Mouthful.
So and that E supposed to be there?
Yeah, electronic PHI.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So A is redundant, right? Which
Right.
HIPAA rule was created. It's redundant. There's a
Right.
privacy rule, security
Yeah.
rule.
And then privacy practices notices,
Mhm.
and then none of the above. So I'm going to brave out, and I think a couple other people did too, and say C is in security rule.
That's what I think it is. That's how I designed it, yes.
Yeah.
Wish you are questioning my questions.
Yeah, just electronic wise is always security.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
So,
good.
yeah. Any questions on this?
So what's the answer?
Electronic is always security rule.
C.
D is in dog.
C is
C
in
is in cat.
Charlie.
Or Charlie.
Hey, say it again?
C is in Charlie. My
Charlie.
husband was military. He drives me crazy. A is Alpha, B is Bravo, C is Charlie, D is Delta, E is Echo. So C is Charlie.
Just another note on this.
Mhm.
This is definitely, it's data safeguarding, this rule, the security rule.
Yes.
The other things that, other questions that came around that I've seen, it's, they'll give scenario questions, but you have to make sure it's under lock and key, it's shredded to prevent breakthroughs, and there's limited password access. So when they're talking about the security rule, those are some of the other factors that come into play.
He is in the E before the PHI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You threw that one in there.
Okay. Number 5.
Yeah.
This is one that Claire and I talked about. I think who Slavka.
It's still Wendy. Yeah.
Yeah. Slavka, when she presented about this, I actually brought up that this one is kind of in 2 groups, and this one differentiates whether it's in one group or the other.
Mhm.
So this is talking about a coach wants to use information collected through a outside marketing agency to connect with clients and increase their his client load. The coach is violating what role? Is this professional conduct with clients, confidentiality, conflict of interest, professional conduct at large, no conflict or continuing development? And I see a lot of answers in here, and I'm going to throw out that I think that, well, I'm just going to state what I know, which may be wrong. Okay. And it could be one of 2. It would be professional conduct at large or professional conduct with clients. Now they're not already our clients. Therefore, this is going to be professional conduct at large because this is in general.
Agree.
Agree. That's how I wrote it. And it was based on that conversation because I really needed to get straight in my head the difference between conduct with clients and conduct at large. And I could hear your all voices saying if it's conduct at large, if it's a coach that is doing something on a larger scale, like Facebook or buying a list of people. And that's what the coach is responsible for. So that's why it's at large.
Yeah. And it is a conflict with each individual person, but they're not our clients. So we're not revealing information that we have with them. That therefore it would be professional conduct at large. And me saying that answer was so much better than whenever we had that conversation with Slavka and we talked about it. Yeah. So great questions.
That's where they came from.
And I don't know who did question 1. So I'm just going to ask, is this protected information?
So yeah, I think I did the next 10. Think I did. Yeah, so I just did because there weren't a lot of questions in here, so I just threw 10 in. I have to tell you, they're a mix of a lot of different things, so I don't a lot of them I may change things around. I made some up, so I can't buy for any of this.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So do you think
it's from any
do you think any of them are from a paid group?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
My own program where I've changed things around or just practicing words and stuff. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
So much.
Yeah.
So question
Yes.
on that last question. So what
Yes.
is the actual conflict of interest? If you're getting a list from an outside source, where's the conflict?
It is right here.
So they're saying you're not allowed to get a list from a marketing company?
So here's professional conduct at large.
Okay.
And
Third party? Third.
yeah. Let's see, where is it? I think it's a
A little,
some, I
Yeah,
think
the
it's
last one, there's coach information, contact information. For marketing, because you're saying it's for marketing.
And I thought about wording the question as could potentially violate, because again, there may be a way that we could gain that kind of information compliantly. I don't know. And I know that a lot of questions I heard were around like Facebook or friends or, you know, taking things from other people as a coach. So I wasn't too picky on that part of it, but I understand what you were saying, and I probably could have worded that better, could potentially violate which part, because I don't know for sure if that's a hard rule that we can't buy data. I don't know.
yeah. So I love that question, and I just happened to actually have that up on my see, I don't know which questions. I did just happen to have that open still. But that's where we got that from. But that did kind of confuse me just a little bit, hiring an outside marketing agency. But then I thought, well, what if, you know, ethics wise, I think as a national board certified coach, we're not supposed to be utilizing data that we don't source.
Mm.
Okay, so let's go to this one. We got 5 hands up. Eight, 9. Okay. So, what stage of change is the client in? Who wants to talk? I am so tired of talking.
Oh. I can talk.
Awesome.
Or does Claire or who
Yeah,
wrote the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Want me to, I'll chime in too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Saying they're talking.
Yeah. So, what stage is the client in? So you want to
I'll
go
do
through?
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it. So,
Perfect.
all right. So let's look at, okay. So one of the things is that they've got all the stages, but one stage. What stage is not there? Or the
Action.
majority,
Action.
Yeah.
Action.
Action's missing.
right? And what's the other stage missing?
Pre-contemplation. No, I'm sorry. Planning.
Preparation.
Preparation.
So whenever I think of this, it's called PCP-AMT. PCP-AMT. So, okay, so none of the above could be a tricky thing here. So there's 2 stages missing.
Yeah.
But what we're looking for, okay, so let's rule some stuff out. Can we rule out termination?
Absolutely.
Can we rule out maintenance? Yes.
Absolutely. They're just not coming up to you anyway.
First stage of TTM is pre-contemplation. Is she in pre-contemplation?
Mhm.
No, she's talking about it. You know, I know I have to work on things. I'm here to do this. So she's not in denial. So, okay, so now my only guess is contemplation. Could it be contemplation?
Yes.
What is contemplation? Yes, Harvey. Why would this be contemplation? What are some of the things that are jumping out at you that are saying contemplation?
Something about it. Just to work on it.
The what?
Yeah, she said she has to work on it.
Yeah. It's, I will, I have to. You're listening to change talk here. This is the darn cat. So you're in this stage of considering this action. So there, she has a desire, right? She has a reason,
Yeah.
and she knows she needs to. So it's contemplation.
So contemplation is right. Okay.
Good one. Okay, next one.
Great question.
And there will be reflections on this this exam, so you really have to nail them. You have to know what each of them are. So let's say, okay, why is it not a simple reflection, or is it a simple reflection? What is a simple reflection, right?
It's just clearly kind of restating what they say using different words.
Or
Right.
mirroring.
Right. It's mirroring. Basically just repeating it back. I hear you. I'm listening to you. Okay. So let's say I'm not gonna, the answer is 2, but let's go, why is it not 3? What is an affirmation? An affirmation,
It's not a positive, like you're not encouraging them or applauding them or anything.
and affirmations are really, they're going to show up because affirmations are, you are on track, you are tenacious, you are setting your goals and keeping them. It's a never I statement, right? So if there's any I in there, it's not an affirmation. Like, I think you're doing great, I'm so proud of you, that a boy, you know, that type of thing. So an open-ended question, and an open-ended question, this is not an open-ended question. This is almost a giveaway. But an amplified reflection, which is you know, I'm giving this one as an easy one, but it might not be so straightforward as an answer. So an amplified reflection is when you're turning up the volume, you're adding an intensity. So you're kind of reflecting back what you're still in the scope of what they're saying, but you're giving it a little bit of a spin on an emotion. So there's a little intensity here. So it's almost like if somebody said, oh, I think things are just fine in our marriage the way they are. And that's sustained talk. And then the coach will say, there's really no room for improvement. Right? So you're going to amplify the conversation. You're switching it to change the client's perspective, to keep the conversation going. So it would be 2, amplified reflection.
Great question.
Okay, next one.
I'll scroll it to the top.
Oh, this actually follows after. I'm just reading these. Okay. Everyone should get this one. All right, so let's open it up. Why is it not an open-ended question?
Because it's not a question.
Correct, right? And that's with some of these questions, you know, answer what they're asking. Which skill is he demonstrating? There's no question here. Okay, so why is it not empathy?
Because they're not empathizing at all. I mean, yeah, they're not trying to feel what they were feeling. They're not trying to relate that way.
And why is it not the writing reflex?
Not trying to correct
fixing
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
A directive of, you should be doing this to change your screen time, or what it would be. So it's the affirmation. So it's the you did. So it kind of falls off the question prior to it versus the I think you're doing really well.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Well, affirmation was it, right?
So it's
Pardon?
affirmation.
Yeah.
Affirmation.
Is affirming what they did.
Coach just gives a straight out, there could be a reflection in there, but he's saying, what, you worked really hard at succeeding and reaching your goal. There's no room in there of like, wow, I'm so happy for you. There's no cheerleading. There's no, you know, good job, because you don't want to come off as that as a coach. You want to be straightforward. You did this, you've achieved this. Okay. Number 4. We good?
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead. We've got a lot of 3s in the chat box.
Okay, so yes, mindful listening. And this is all around all the competencies, number 1. And there are a lot of questions, this is a huge section of the test, but mindful listening. And I think one thing I wanted to bring up with this question is looking at the Thomas Gordon roadblocks to listening. That has come up on the exams, and I think this falls into this. The mindful listening is one of our core coaching skills, plus open-ended questions, and reflections. Those are the 3 core coaching skills. And when we look at mindful listening, I've seen the Thomas Gordon roadblock question come up several times. So they'll ask mindful coaching. And I don't know if you guys know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Page 7 in the book. You don't, in the coaching competency book.
Take a look at that. Like, they could ask questions like, warning, cautioning, or threatening. It carries an air of threat or negative consequence. So just sort of the philosophy behind these can help you weed out the answers in some of these scenario questions. So I would absolutely bring those to mind, top of mind. So yes, it's mindful listening. Why is it not empathy?
Just thinking about what to say next.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. You say they're simple. Like when you really, it's simple, straightforward. Okay. All right, next question.
5.
Okay. Okay, so this is there's 2 parts to this one that I want to break down. So the open-ended question, your client is in what state for contemplation? What did we've already spoken about this. So in contemplation, where are we? What's, the answer is clearly 2.
Yeah. They're in their pros and cons. They're trying to figure out, they're iffy.
Right. It's the decisional balance. It's ambivalence. Anytime you see what would be, what is, it's straightforward. What I want to point out in here is that question, the answer number 1, this is an answer for what stage?
Planning, preparation.
No. I'm just going to, so it's pre-contemplation, and this has come up several times in scenarios. So when pre-contemplation, when they don't know how to move forward or they can't move forward, there's the 3 Ds, they don't know how they're demoralized or defensive. The number 1 question is, what would have to happen to signal that it's time to start making a change?
Love that. I just put that I wrote that here on the sheet so everybody can see that. I love that.
Seen this question in different stages, but in TTM, this is actually from the TTM model. So know these 2 questions straight out. Number 1 is pre-contemplation, and number 2 is contemplation. The other thing about the first one is, number 1, another question that comes up for pre-contemplation, and this is in the TTM guide, is what is some resistance to making this change now? So those are the 2 questions. So if you see either one of those questions, so what is some resistance to making this change, or what would have to signal you to make this change? That's pre-contemplation.
Hey Claire, can you explain why it's not number 3?
Sure. Which open
What is work for you in the past?
3. Okay, so 3 is definitely, I would say that's a great question. It would be certainly a question to ask following this, but they haven't made the choice yet if they're moving. So you want to increase the pros first, and then your next question is building self-efficacy, building off their strengths, and then, oh, okay, so how did that work for you in the past? But
Okay, so I read it as appreciative inquiry, right? So you're celebrating the strengths to see what you can build upon to increase or decrease ambivalence.
But in general, in the straight model of TTM, no matter what, you want your pros to outweigh the cons. So you really bring them into that place first, and then pull the strengths out to move on.
Okay.
So I think what has worked for you in the past would be more of a, you want to focus on something, and a focus hasn't been defined here. Would you agree with that?
Correct, right.
Okay. Because that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
What made sense to me. I don't know what I was typing because my words got messed up. I think I started hearing somebody else talk and started writing their words. And then why would you make this change? Yeah. And then why would you make this change would be really trying to, that it's a great question, but you really need to know what is the change that they're wanting to make and why is it important to them. So instead of saying why make this change, a better question will be, why is this important to you?
Right, because that gets to the overall vision and stuff like that. We don't even have their vision right now. We don't have goals set out or strategies.
Okay, number 6. Is any more questions on this question?
Okay, 6. All right, Marcy, why don't you take us through? You're on mute.
Okay, for number 6, is that what we're on? Are we on question 6?
Yeah, yes. I saw your hands up, so I just thought maybe you want to answer it for us.
Oh no, I just had my hands up. From last one. I'm just reading it right now. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. No, sorry. Sorry to put you on the. All right, let's open it up. What does SMART stand for? S?
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time.
Time bound. Okay, now I can answer it. Now that I've read it. And for me, it would be specific.
Correct.
He's not saying what kind of exercising. Is he walking, running, yoga, swimming?
Yeah. And it seems like there's so much in there already. So it feels like, wow, we've got all the components, but that's the whole point of a SMART goal. You have to narrow down every one of those letters. And it's exactly what you're saying, Marcy. Perfect. Not saying exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? Okay, let's move on. Number 7.
Or number 8. Wasn't that numbers?
No.
You're right. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, Marcy, your hand's still up. So I know you're dying to answer it again.
I'm trying to pop my hand up and won't go. It's okay.
I do know the answer to this one, but I don't need to answer it.
Go ahead. Oh, answer it.
Okay. So it's time bound.
If we go
Doesn't
through,
say how long she's gonna do it.
she was gonna walk for 30 minutes a day, so she's walking, that's specific. 30 minutes a day
Before breakfast.
breakfast, right? So that's really, she's measuring it and log it into her exercise journal. She already set up, if there's a barrier, she's going to use the elliptical machine for 30 minutes. So she's very specific again, the elliptical machine for 30 minutes and log that. And she's starting tomorrow.
And she doesn't say how many days she's gonna do this for.
How long is she doing it for? Right.
I was told we need bookends when we're talking about time bound.
That's
How
right.
long? So whether it's, Monday through Friday, as you said before, for how many weeks, for 6 weeks, for 5 weeks, for a month.
Right. So she hit all of them except for, well, when is this going to end? Or that's it. Okay. Any questions on that one?
I'm not realistic.
That's a good question. Let's talk that one through. Why would you think it's not? Why would you think realistic is not an answer?
Walking for 30 minutes before breakfast sounds pretty realistic to me. So somebody just needs to get up 30 minutes earlier. So that's something that seems very realistic.
Yeah.
And it would be realistic to be able to log it, and it'd be realistic to especially realistic because they've already put into the fact that, hey, if it's raining, here's my alternate.
That's a key point there, is that she's already got this, she's going to do it, and she's already looking at different ways that she's going to figure it out if she can't do it.
And it also makes it actionable as well.
Okay, number 8. That's right. All right, Harvey, go ahead. What do you got?
Group.
That's correct. But I want to talk a little bit more about this, though. When we measure visceral adipose tissue for the waistline, let's talk a little bit about that measurement itself. So that's a critical measurement for measuring metabolic syndrome. All right. So BMI is also a measurement, but we know that BMI is not as trustworthy because it doesn't measure lean body mass. So you can have a BMI of 30 and you could be a bodybuilder, but it will say that you're obese. So when we're looking for metabolic syndrome criteria, what would be the waist circumference that would put you into metabolic syndrome if you were a female and a male? I'm just
35 inches and above for a female, and 40 inches and above for male.
Correct. So those are critical factors to tie into when you see visceral adipose tissue.
Hit the waist ratio.
Yes, that's the waist ratio. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it also, related to the female BMI, does it depends on the culture?
No, with the female, they just cannot be pregnant. It does not depend on whether they're, I know the word you want to say, like where they're from, right? Their ethnicity. Because like a lot of times we've read this in a lot of the journals and a lot of the books and a lot of the different stuff that the different body types are different with different ethnicities a lot of times, not all, but with some. So, for example, Latinos, it sounds very generalistic. So a lot of times they'll say that they may be larger around the middle, but the 35 inches does not matter what your ethnicity is.
Right.
Just
pregnant. I'm not sure who's asking the question, but when we're looking at pre-risk factors for diabetes, definitely, which waistline does fall into. So if you're type 2, type 1, or pre-diabetic, then ethnicities comes into play there.
Thanks.
Okay, so again, moving, I'm doing double questions within the question. So number 9.
Anyone?
3 or more.
Correct. So let's go into the question. So it includes high blood pressure. Somebody just yell out a number for high blood pressure. What is normal blood pressure?
120 over, under 120, under 80.
Correct. So anything that we see in the 129 or 88 range, and you do have to know hypertensive stages here. So
Hypertensive it's the hypertensive that is the one for this. So it would be over 130 and over, or possibly over 80.
correct.
I'm sorry, 90.
So, well, if you're 130 to 139, 80 to 90, you're stage 1 hypertension. But if you see anything in these questions, 120 over 80, just put it in the risk factor category. Okay. Just keep your baseline 120 over 80 is normal. Anytime you see anything over that, you're in the hypertensive or risk for hypertension. Okay. Then it was high blood sugar. What is a normal blood sugar level?
Under 100.
Right. So that means if you see anything in a question over 100, they're going to be falling into a category of risk. We just talked about visceral fat in the earlier ones. That's greater than 35 for women, greater than 40 for men. High triglycerides. What would be a number? So I'm just going to ask you, would 140 be a high triglyceride?
No, not
Correct.
compared to not what the CDC says.
Would 168 be a high triglyceride?
Yes.
Correct. Great. So reduced HDL cholesterol. If I said somebody had, a woman had an HDL of 68, is she in a good range or not?
Good range.
It's a good range.
You want that. Yeah.
50 and over is good for a woman. 40 and over is good for a man.
That's right.
What's one for women?
50 and over.
What's the number?
50 and over, 50, and a man is 40 and over.
Okay, good. Got your biometrics, guys.
So the answer is all, right?
That's you just
The
got
answer is 3.
3, 4 more. 3.
3 or more. Yeah.
Number 1. Correct. Okay. Last question. Oh, I don't know. I guess I was studying chronic diseases the other day. All right, so just staying within this, where are we? Okay, let's see.
Her blood pressure is good. Her
Okay.
cholesterol.
Right, her blood pressure.
BMI is fine.
Right.
Yep, 24.9 is the highest for BMI for a female.
Just
to
tell
be
me.
in the normal range.
All right, yeah, let's finish and then I'll ask other questions. Go ahead. Activity.
Activity
Not
looks
good.
like, it looks like it's only 2 days a week that they're walking to work for 20 minutes. So that would be 20, 40, 60, 80. No, they're only walking to work, right? Not to work and back. So that's 40 minutes a day.
Physical activity, number 4.
That's right, Harvey.
Yeah.
So let's look at that. So she's 45, doesn't matter that she's self-employed. Her blood pressure, what did we say? If we say 120, 80?
That's fine. Yep. That's
Cholesterol, what did we say? Below 200, right?
yes, because 200 would be high cholesterol. So that's actually within the means.
So she's in. So BMI.
Close.
It's normal.
She's going to be overweight if it's 25 and she's going to be obese at 30. So you just really know those numbers. 25 is overweight, 30 is obese. If you see anything other than that, they might trick you up and say 24.9, so it's like, ugh, just know 25 overweight.
Yeah. Yeah. 24.9 and she is still normal.
And then, the CDC recommendations and the American College of Sports Medicine pretty much have the same recommendations for moderate activity. And that's 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous or moderate exercise. And that doesn't criteria.
A week.
75 minutes if vigorous.
Vigorous, correct.
Or a mix.
Yeah. So I had seen on questions that kind of tricked me up is they started talking about, okay, they're doing yoga for this many da 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 and biking for this da da. They could get deeper into that of like what kind of activity they're specifically doing. So really make sure you know what moderate activity is and what consists of that. Let me see if I can just pull that. Like, what does that look like? So yeah, so moderate so in general, if you're 18, 65 or pregnant, moderate activity is that 150 minutes, and that's walking, yoga, bike riding, or tennis. Vigorous is running and jogging. And that's the 75 minutes per week. But if you're over 65, you just add in the balance, which would be standing on one foot or walking backwards or using a wobble board. So if you're over 65, just know you have to add in the balance. But still, it's still the same for moderate and vigorous exercise. And pregnant women can also continue all of these activities if she was doing it prior. The difference, if this does come up, and I have seen this question come up, is what is the difference from the American College of Sports Medicine? And there's only one factor, you just need to know this. It's 60 minutes a week of vigorous versus 75 minutes a week. So if that gets woven into a scenario, that's the only difference.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Is that if you're a senior?
No, that's if they're saying, so there's 2 accreditations here. So there's the CDC guidelines, which is a blanket guideline. And then there's the American College of Sports Medicine, which you'll see is ACSM. And everyone has the same recommendation, but the ACSM, when it comes to the vigorous amount of activity, it's 60 minutes versus 75 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Claire, you're good.
Whoever's thanking me, thank you back.
I think it's Athea.
It's me,
Aletha.
Aletha. I'm learning so much. This is what I need. This scenario, just going through, thinking through it. So this has been very helpful.
You know, when you talk these things through and you hear everybody's different, you're like, I don't know all these answers. And like, if you just look at them in different ways and discuss it and get everybody's opinion, and then you just continue to build those neuronal networks of, oh yeah, I remember we did that one and this is what we discussed and this is why it is this way.
This has been very helpful. Been great.
I agree. I am going to stop recording